So if the board, just as a reminder to the board and to our patrons, we experienced a data breach through Power School last April, March or April, yeah, of last year. It's almost going on a year now. That data breach happened because an employee of Power School had their credentials compromised, and then that led to a foreign attack that infiltrated not just our network, but networks across the entire state and across the entire country. So, in response to that, that action did lead to significant impact to the school district, especially with Cord and his IT team. They had to spend, felt like almost nonstop working for 4 or 5 days to evaluate what the data breach was, what data had been compromised. And then, of course, we spent the next several weeks notifying our families and evaluating damage, implementing security protocols. There's just quite a bit of work that went into that. And of course, concern from our families as well on what data was potentially breached from their kids. And then following that, there's been quite a bit of communication since then. We were just recently notified that we have a legal responsibility to place an official notice in every student's cumulative file going clear back to 2004. I have to run the numbers. I'm guessing that's probably right around, well, 1,000 students per year for 20 years. So 200,000 students that we would have to go back and no, 20,000, sorry, plus our current one. So yeah, it's probably about 40,000 students. We have to go back and put in their cum files a notification about this Power School data breach. So with that impact to us, there is a law firm that is going to engage in litigation against Power School. A class action suit is what they're hoping to do if they have enough districts that join that. And so this would be a motion that would authorize me to move forward with engaging an attorney to potentially engage in litigation against Power School for that data breach.
Questions?
I move to authorize superintendent to engage legal counsel in litigation related to damages resulting from the Power School data breach.
Been moved by Mr. Coates.
I'll second.
Seconded by Mr. Hicks. All in favor?
Right.
Underage meeting. Or Thunder.
Thunder, yeah.
Not
Awesome. How we doing tonight? Good. So this is, we came to you guys last July, talked about the stadium over at east of Thunder Stadium at Bonnell High School. So they'll host the baseball, softball, soccer fields out there. And we chose not for 4th of July, if you guys remember that. We went out to bid. This past month, we got bids back. You know, coming to you guys to get group to move forward with this parking. The construction would start in middle of May, depending on softball, baseball season. Those get over for state, and then they go throughout the summer. At the end by August 16th, but before August 14th. The construction company that came with the low bid is Suncor. They're a reputable construction company, beat the PACO. They changed their name to Suncor now. They'll come in, they'll do all the prep work, asphalt, put in some parking lot lights, and drainage storm systems, and nice parking lot. Their bid came in at $739,281, which was $90,000 less than the bids that came in July. But then we also added a few extra big things this year, so I think it's a pretty good bid. I think that's kind of what we were thinking of when we went into the process. A little bit more. I think we had planned about 720 is what we're planning. So a little bit more than we anticipated, but not much. So I guess I'm asking you guys to approve this and move forward with the parking.
Questions? Okay, and we need a motion.
I move to approve the recommendation of Suncor Construction Materials for the Bonnell High School Thunder Stadium. This parking lot improvement stats.
Mr. Smith.
I'll second.
And second by Mr. Hess, all in favor?
Aye.
Did everybody vote?
No, I didn't say that. Is he working?
And I'm also on it, yes. Okay. All right. Motion carries. Thank you. Policy 5400.
So two policies for the board tonight, asking the board to take action on both of these as final readings. The first is 5400 procedure 2. So it's just a procedure that outlines within our policy. This is for sick leave procedures. This is just simply aligning what's in policy with the master agreement. So prior to this year, certified staff could only take sick leave or personal leave in half-day or full-day increments. This year, through the negotiation process with the VA, we included that they could take sick leave or personal leave in 2-hour increments. So they could take a 2-hour increment, a half-day, or a full day. And so what we're asking the board to approve tonight is just that, really, it's just that 2-hour increment, and it aligns with what's in board policy. Classified leave doesn't change. It's always been that they take it as an increment of their hourly time that they're away from school. So it's really down to the minutes for the classified staff. So pretty minor change in the sick leave policy tonight for certified staff.
Questions for Mr. Jackson?
Yeah, I mean, have we ever thought about just going to a personal leave bank and they can use it for whatever their needs are?
Yeah, so at one time that was, some districts have done that in the past. There is some concern because we pay out personal leave at the end of the year. Our employees can only accumulate 5 days of personal leave. And then each year it's paid out. And then the sick leave is accumulated as this sick leave entitlement through PERSI. And that entitlement is used in retirement to purchase health medical benefits. And so there's some IRS issues because there's an entitlement fund that sick leave goes to. And so our districts chose to separate sick leave and personal leave, primarily because the IRS issues with the sick leave entitlement in retirement. So that's primarily the reason we haven't moved those two things together.
Okay.
Any questions? We need a motion.
I move to approve the corrections to proposed policy 5400 P2 sick leave procedures for final action.
Been moved by Mrs. Whiten.
I'll second.
And she's closer. No, I just changed. Second by Mrs. Coates. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. And policy 5140.
Yeah, so policy 5140 is our evaluation of certified employees. We spent some time this summer and made some revisions to this policy to align it with our best evaluation tool. On page 5 under personnel letter B, as Scott and I looked at this policy over the summertime, we did something that we thought was probably beneficial to our more veteran teachers. Letter B specifically says that teachers who attained advanced professional endorsement, they taught our district for at least 3 years, that we would forego them being required to do a portfolio evaluation annually. They'd only do it once per year or once every third year, as long as they continue to meet those requirements. And that was by mutual agreement by the employee and their building principal. Scott and I had some conversations this fall. Part of our decision to moving to an annual evaluation for every employee was to meet state code and state requirements. And by trying to do a nice thing for our teachers, we're probably violating state policy. State policy says that we need to report all areas and all components of the evaluation on an annual basis. And that portfolio includes components from domains 1 and domains 4 that are required by the state. And by only doing it once every third year, we're not getting a full report of the evaluation on an annual basis. And so the recommendation tonight is to strike letter B, which removes the opportunity to only be evaluated once every third year on the portfolio. And then just above that, I've included it letter III,
the main one portfolio will be required in every annual evaluation. So moving back to the way it was 10 years ago, that every teacher will be evaluated annually, and it will include a full evaluation of both 2 classroom observations and a portfolio of evidence to show things that we can't see in the classroom, but are part of the state framework for evaluation, including the planning and preparation and professional responsibilities that they show in their portfolios. So that's that change. The other thing that I just added on number 8, on page 6, under the appeals. If you remember when we revised this policy this summer, we included a opportunity under the appeals for teachers to request to be monitored. And so we put in some parameters for being monitored. Specifically, what we're looking at with right now, when our teachers request an appeal in their evaluation, they can request for a new evaluation, they can request for a new evaluator, or they can just add a letter of whatever the statement they want to make about what's going on with their evaluation. And then this summer, we added that they may be monitored. And what we've utilized the monitoring for is when teachers are within a small range of missing advancing on the career ladder because of their evaluation, then they can identify and set an improvement plan for 1 or 2 indicators. The principals would monitor that over a 6 to 12 week period, and then using the baseline data from their 2 classroom observations, we would go in and make an adjustment to their evaluation for those 1 or 2 indicators to help them meet the performance criteria. And so underneath appeals A3, I just put in some parameters on what that process would look like. Specifically, that teachers would need to be within 2 points of meeting the criteria to advance on the career ladder, and they all not have more than 2 components that are basic or below that would prevent them from advancing on the career ladder. And then if these requirements are met, the evaluation would prevent them from being advanced on the career ladder. So what we don't want is a system where teachers are saying, well, I want to be highly effective in every area of my evaluation, so I want to request to be monitored and move myself up from being just I'm effective in one area, I'm highly effective in another, I want to be highly effective overall. It's purely about super close within 1 or 2 indicators of meeting the criteria to advance. They've shown evidence of meeting that criteria rather than doing an entirely new evaluation. The evaluation is baseline data, set an individual professional learning plan growth goal, and once they've shown evidence of improving in that area, we make a minor adjustment to those 1 or 2 indicators that allows them to advance on the career ladder. And so really 3 is just a parameter like within what we already put in place this summer. Questions about these 2 changes?
As far as this compared to what was before the JPAS?
Yeah.
How many times did you evaluate them in JPAS?
So teachers that were evaluated, their first 3 years they were in the district, they had an annual evaluation. And then after the 3rd year, if they met all of the criteria for the advanced professional endorsement, they were evaluated once every 3rd year. If they didn't meet that criteria, they were advanced every year. So by meeting the 8P requirements, performance requirements, our old evaluation policy allowed them not to be formally evaluated. We would carry that evaluation over for 2nd and 3rd year, and then we would do walkthroughs, give them feedback, they would set growth goals. So potentially they could have been evaluated once every 3rd year through the full formal process. Now they're evaluated annually.
By state law.
By state requirements, yes.
And how many evaluators in our district would you say we're going to have?
How many evaluations?
How many evaluators?
We're roughly 45. Every school administrator is an evaluator. The district directors are all evaluators. I'm working with school principals right now. Any school that had greater than 25 evaluations in their building, taking away the middle school and the high schools because they've got multiple people to do the evaluations. I'm reassigning where appropriate for other directors to go and do evaluation. So right now, there's only 2 schools that have asked for help right now. And so I'm working with those 2 schools to complete evaluations for about 9 or 10 teachers. In January, we'll reevaluate. Some of them wanted to kind of see, are we going to be able to get through this? Because For some, it went from, we did 15 evaluations last year, this year we have 30. So it's been a bit of an increase and a bit of a jump for some of our schools. We're providing support with some of our directors and Scott and Jason and myself as well to help out with those evaluations.
So I think that would be my biggest concern. This is the first year we've done best.
Second year we've done best. And it's not over the last 15 years, we've done a lot of different things. 10 years ago, every teacher had an evaluation every year. Then we shifted away that they still had an evaluation, but they only did the portfolio every third year. And then we went to, they only had an evaluation every third year. So we've done multiple things so that this isn't completely out of the norm for principals that have been in the district for a little while. But it will be a bit of a lift to get used to and have that annual evaluation.
So I guess as far as the different levels, grade school, and then
Yeah.
it'd be wonderful if there was a way to make the evaluations as equal as possible.
Yeah.
So what's working, but that in the valley is the same down
Yeah.
here, and everybody feels like they're being treated the same. I think.
For them. So I think two things that help with that. One, the state requires every evaluator to take a evaluation class every recertification cycle. And so every administrator takes the class. Jason, Scott, and I teach it every summer. It's a 5-day class. We spend 45 hours reviewing. We go through each system of what the evaluation looks like. We do mock evaluations, we watch videos, we talk about them. And then our principals go out and do parallel observations in the fall. So they're sitting in a classroom side by side, and then they go back and look at, say, this is how I marked the evaluation. How did you mark it? And get some analysis. The other thing that's been really nice, when we first started doing JPAS, we'd get a very detailed report about, do we have some consistency across the district about how evaluations are being handled? Or do we have some principals that might be more than one standard deviation above the standard in our district, and we have some that are below. And this year we were able to pull that data for ourselves because we're running it all internally now. I believe, Scott, we had one principal that was high and one principal that was low, more than one standard deviation outside of that realm. And so we're going to be able to pull more data from our evaluation tool because we're running it all internally now. And then provide support. So we believe that if our principals understand the rubrics that we created and they're marking it, it shouldn't matter who the principal is that goes in to do the evaluation. There should be, if we're applying those rules and application appropriately, it should be very consistent across the district. What I like about JPAS and BEST is there's a clear rubric, and it takes away some of the subjectivity of the evaluation because you're looking at a rubric saying, I either saw this in the classroom or I didn't. This is why I'm marking it, when you get some very concrete examples of what they saw in the classroom. So far the feedback for BEST both last year and what I've been seeing this year has been very positive. So I do think we have some consistency that's reliable across the district with our evaluators.
Excellent.
Randy, on the one question about the frequency, the challenge has been keeping up with changes in state law. So there is a board rule, a IDAPA rule, so administration that said that governs teacher evaluations and said every teacher has to be evaluated every year. You have to have 2 classroom observations every year. And we utilize flexibility within that to say a walkthrough counted as a documented observation because we had a tool that was doing that. So while we were complying with that rule, the state then passed other laws about the career ladder and advancing on the career ladder. And so what we were doing didn't really align with the expectations for that. I think you could still make a technical argument that we were doing okay, but it really doesn't meet the intent of that, which is they want to know that teachers are meeting their criteria every year to advance on the career ladder. So that's why we made the change. Whether we were on JPAS or on BEST wouldn't have mattered. We'd be changing that practice to align with the expectation that teachers are meeting the criteria each year to advance on the career ladder.
I would assume you as a team randomly check through some of the pages to see. I just think the teachers, if they know, have nothing to fear, because some of them do. And, one option down the road might be to let them just have a camera and microphone in the roof because having one or two administrators when they are dealing with children all the time might intimidate them. But I think it's great what you've done. It's in-house and we got control of it. And, I just hope they feel we only want to get help for those who are inadequate, and some might need to be encouraged to leave, but it's very few, and the rest we're just trying to help everybody improve.
Yeah, and I keep a close eye. I get every evaluation that comes in, comes to me, I look at it, I review them. We've got about just under 400 evaluations that have been completed so far this year. We've got about 800, so we're about halfway there. There's about 16 of those 400 that haven't met criteria to advance next year. So those are the ones that we're talking about in monitoring. Do they qualify for some extra help and support? That doesn't mean that every teacher is meeting the highly effective, but they're meeting the minimum performance criteria to advance on the career ladder. And then we've done some things to provide better feedback to our teachers, really identifying here are some areas that we saw that were going really well. Here's some things that we might look at to improve on. So I think the best, I didn't really have anything negative about the JPass or concern about JPass was because Jordan School District is no longer using JPass the same way. When this annotated software is no longer able to scan our bubble sheets, we don't have anybody to go back to and say we need an update. And so that really was the driving force. It wasn't because we were completely unsatisfied with that tool. And that's why the best is so closely aligned to that JPass tool. It's a overall good evaluation and has provided very good feedback. And I think that the best is a step above what we're used to with the JPass, but really narrows down those things that we're looking at in the classroom.
I move to bring the correction of proposed policy of 5140 evaluation certified staff members for final adoption.
Been moved by Mr. Smith.
I'll second.
And seconded by Mr. Hess. All in favor? Thank you.
It's not the start time, it's the end time that matters. Yeah.
No, well, listen, to me, Rex told me he had about a 45-minute presentation, so. 425. No, but, so, they, did their federal audit, and I don't know if Rex is gonna say this, but I wanna say it breaking on here, but, the report that, and Ellie sent in for just a little bit of the audit piece and the report on the audit. But what they said is that, Jackson's team in the Bonneville School District for the federal programs audit was the standard. Like they felt like it was just a really, really good audit. It's what it needs to be. They just said, we wish all of them were like this.
Jason's done it all.
Wow, no, I still said I should know if you're gonna say that. I want to make sure that 5 minutes, right? Yeah.
Okay, I'll be brief. It was great. I've done 3 audits now with the feds. Once every 6 years, they'll come through with the audit. And thankfully, this will be my last audit I won't be here 6 years. But I love it. Love what we do and I love what we've done. Last audit was great. This audit was even better. I've never seen an audit where they didn't find something. It's like they have to find something, and they just did it with this audit. And I thought about, I gave you all of the audit. I was thinking, I could talk the numbers or whatever, and the results, but I don't think it would actually get to what I feel the heart of this is. But I think, what does the audit really reflect? So if you'll give me just a second, and I won't take too long, I just want to go through a few things. It reflects, first off, that countless hours for a year and a half, my team and others involved, lots of other folks involved with planning, prepping, collecting, all the stuff we organizing to get this audit ready for this federal review. And so that's part of this reflection. But I think it reflected deeper on our staff, everybody in the buildings, everybody at the district level. That reflects on you as a board, the direction and guidance and the culture you help set, that our district helps set. work that is happening at the schools, the parents, the instructional coaches, our interventionists, all these key pieces that are coming together, the parents, our ESL folks that are helping with the language barriers, all this comes together and is reflected in this audit. And it shows the power that's going on with that. And so as I was thinking about it, the audit basically reflects that D93 shows up. And then I started thinking, as I was thinking along that lines, Christmas Day, 1941, North Platte, Nebraska. The train's coming in, the moms have got word that morning that their sons and daughters were going to be on that train. So you know what our moms would do. Then have 15 minutes with you before you're off to the European or African front. They showed up, they had their care packages. They get on the train, it's not their place. It's the kids from Kansas. You know what your mom would do? For 15 minutes, that boy was loved, cared for, fed, and then sent off. And what was amazing about this is these moms and dads of North Platte showed up, these soldiers. But they made the determination from that moment that every train that came through North Platte was going to be met. From 5 in the morning till late at night, over 5,000 soldiers a day came through North Platte. Moms and dads would show up. Kid was fed. Every son and daughter was adopted for 15 minutes. In fact, many would exchange letters with these families for a lifetime. These kids were not showed up. It just kept me thinking along the lines of our parents, our teachers, our administrators, and you as the board. We show up. And this culture that is created that we have about D93 showing up and loving these kids, even though they might not be my son or daughter, but love starts because of you and our leadership. You help create this culture that D93 shows up. I've expressed this to you every time I talk. I love our board. I appreciate our board and our folks I get to work with. Been around a long time. I've worked with a lot of boards across this state. You're a great board. You've established this great culture, and I'm appreciative of that. And I think that is the reflection that shows up in this audit. It's not about numbers, it's about people, about showing up and loving these kids. And loving the folks we work with. And you guys helped establish that. Propensity is, we always have something on propensity. Again, it's a reflection of our community. Like more flat, we show up, we have yet now. So I'm grateful for that. Thank you for setting that culture for us, Scott and our team for setting that culture. They're showing up. Do you have a specific question on the audit?
I assume it's a federal agency that audits you and they travel.
It's actually to the State Department. They hired a team that some of these folks I've known for over 10 years that have done these audits. And to Jason's credit, and I would be remiss if I didn't point out the hard work that the folks on my team put into them. They did a great job. They couldn't find anything to complain about.
How often do they issue this good of a report?
Never.
Never? That's
No, our last audit was very, very good. But we still had a couple little findings we had to take care of. So, yeah, and they expressed that, I think, when they talked with Scott and us, is like, this is something we haven't seen. And a lot of this too, I wish Guy was here because he deserves a lot of that. The monetary side. And we had a young man who used to work with me, and Austin was a great part of that of that audit. And I called him after. He works at the State Department. I said, we love you, and you were a big part of this great result. So, and you do have a copy of it if you have specific questions. I'd love to answer for you. Congratulations. Well, thank you for sending this to for.
I think it's important to know is you do your jobs. Everybody does their jobs. It's not that you just all of a sudden worked hard to put together and make it the audit. You just do your jobs. And that's what we appreciate. That's what we need is everybody to do what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And then we don't have to worry about it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you. Yes. Oh, thanks, Paul. Well, but again, it's easy in this environment to see that. Well, our community shows up. Our teachers show up.
As you know, audit, it's not the effort to get ready for the audit. Years to come, it's the 6 years. to Make the audit successful. But the package steps are- So it's that 6 years just effort, attention, to detail. And that's- you guys got the most important job in the community. Put that kind of effort in. Skill and quality, and do your job there.
I appreciate that. Because it really does go back to what you two just said. Everybody in this, everybody in this district loves our kids. And even if you're not my kid, or even if you're driving me crazy today, I do love you. I want what's best for you. Thank you.
You looked at me when you said that.
So we have a number of policies that are for final. This first one is the provision of special education. 2400. If you remember on this one, there's a line that's updated. Or that provisions of such services will be continued upon parental or student consent. So we're just something.
Questions? We need a motion?
I move to approve post policy 2400, provision of special education for final adoption.
Been moved by Mr. Hess.
Second.
Second by Coates, all in favor? Motion carried.
Thank you. And the next one, if you remember, is the document and the special file as well that we've been using. I want to make sure we get this to the board. The explanation of adult student revocation of consent. And birthday that they're revoking their consent for the special education.
Questions? Motion?
I move to approve the explanation of adult student revocation of consent for final adoption.
Been moved by Mr. Smith. Second by Mrs. Clayton, all in favor? Motion carries. So,
We need to travel. Yep. The travel's done. Yep.
It's on the, yeah, it's on the agenda, so we, wherever that is on the agenda. Oh. Sorry, it was a rushed job. Just to
Okay, so it's just the approval of travel request for Hillcrest 9. As we hope was like that. President cancel, President, yeah, cancel, later to get back into one.
It's
The travel. Hillcrest 9.
I would so move.
Mrs. Coates,
I'll second.
second by Mr. Hess, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay.
yeah, okay.
Next policy is our comprehensive high school graduation requirements. And the changes on this one, making sure that we added in, there's going to be a digital literacy component starting class of 2028, which is sophomores, and technology, which we've had before, but when we updated this before and added that, we make sure we have the technology engineering credit as well as that digital literacy piece for them. And then there's also a change to the titles, talent humanities. The state changed it to arts and world languages. definition is very similar to that, but that was a change. And so making sure we have that before, see if that. That is a lot of changes.
Questions? We need a motion.
I move to approve proposed policy 2700 P1, comprehensive high school graduation requirements for final adoption.
Been moved by Mr. Hess,
Second.
second by Mrs. Coates, all in favor? Motion carries.
And this actually just follows along with our graduation, comprehensive high school graduation requirements and the specialty high school graduation requirements. And this was the same purpose on this one, was for the digital literacy and but also having my class in 2020.
Motion,
I move to approve proposed policy 2700 P2, alternative special high school graduation requirements for final.
it's been moved by Mrs. Coates,
I'll second it.
second by Mr. Clayton, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Policy 3281.
You want to hold on this one, Craig?
Well, I think we'll just give it to them for initial. So, we hope this will be ready for public. I spoke with Randy a little bit earlier. I don't know if Randy wants to share some of his questions or thoughts on it, but I'll say kind of one of our interesting tensions with this particular policy